All right, so like I said, we're going to focus today on hopefully moving from a rough sketched character to something that's a little bit more refined, closer to the finished piece. Um, Most of you guys are doing the kind of thing where you've got some solid line work and then just kind of a quick color job. So I'm going to be doing the same sort of thing. I guess I've got to decide which Ninja Turtle I want to do. I want to do the monk or the samurai. I'm still thinking. I feel like the monk might be more fun. Yeah, okay. Monk it is. Oh, I'm so indecisive though, the samurai. Nope, monk. Okay, so I'm going to hide the other distractions. Okay. Um, I'm going to turn the opacity down on actually the entire group of layers that make up this rough sketch. If it's just on one layer for you, that's fine. Turn it down so it's partially invisible. I'm actually going to also move the thing with Edit Free Transform and resize it. Just give me a little bit more space to work and resolution to get detailed on. And then I have a new layer on top of that group that I can draw on that's going to be my actual next step in the drawing. And whether or not I keep some of the old stuff underneath, I'll determine later. Cool. So once I set that up, then it's time to start looking at some of the reference I've gathered, which, let's see, I'm going to arrange some of this on the page differently so I don't have to hide and unhide the thing. Cool. Actually, that's going to drive me nuts. Let me get rid of some of that too. Don't need all that. All right. This is kind of like a difficult ravine to cross for a lot of people going from rough to sharp. And you'll notice, like for me too, I'm sitting here kind of just scanning this thing, looking at where I want to start. I find that once you start jumping in and doing detail work on things, that you can sort of like start to flow after a little bit. Like the hard part is kind of jumping in a lot of the time. I know that I'm going to want this face to be super detailed. And even though a lot of it's hidden under this hat, I think I'm going to go ahead and start working on that. And then as I work, I'm going to just hope that ideas start to come to me. Okay, I'm going to actually pick a brush that's got a little bit better quality for line work. I want something with a little bit of a shape dynamic to it, though. Okay, I can make that work. I can make that work. Okay, cool. So instead of just like sketchy searching lines like in my rough process, I'm actually going to be focusing on making deliberate. It can still be a little bit of a mess, but I want, or at least the way I draw it can be. Cleaner though, more deliberate. And something that I think will help you guys just as a general guideline to give yourself is if you're outlining something and you're doing this sort of a style, oftentimes you're going to want to make the outlines that are outside of the character or just around important objects thicker than when you see me do lines for like this scales and stuff. In a second. I'm actually going to put those on a different layer. Kind of just mimicking some of the patterns I see over here. I'm going to get a closer view actually. Really try and pick up some of this detail. Maybe I want to show some of that eye creeping through. I kind of like that. Maybe I'll have his hat be busted in that part or something. Okay, so let's make the eye go like this. That's worth noting. So see right there, I'm making kind of like a design decision change, even though I'm in the detailing phase. And to some degree, that's all right. And even kind of fun and cool and to your benefit. The point being, when you do your initial like rough sketching, you don't have to have everything 100% worked out. And you should not freak out if you really decide to change your mind about something later. What happened to my creepy Diablo music? Oh, fun. It's loading. And the internet went down. That's why. I'm trying to imagine in my head what these three-dimensional surfaces on this turtle's face would look like. It kind of helps to think of synonyms, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, I'm drawing scales right here, but I'm also kind of imagining what kind of an old cobblestone road would look like. To me, that kind of feels like a similar sort of thing. So in a way, I'm kind of drawing a cobblestone street and I'm drawing scales. Think about the textures you're drawing. Try and imagine what they actually feel like. See if any impressions come to mind of what sorts of lines and values and forms make up those things you're trying to draw. I want this to be kind of like an old man compared to some of the other ones. He's like the wise old mentor turtle. I know this is like loosely Ninja Turtles. I don't remember if Donatello's. I think they're all the same age, but so what? He's still like the tech smart one, right? I like this skin fold that appears. Maybe I'll try and do that. Thinking about the contours, I'm thinking about how much light dark values I want to create. And let's say I wanted to create more darkness here as opposed to right here. I'm going to think about ways that I can follow the contour of this imagined turtle's neck to kind of fill in that space with texture and contour line rather than just go like that, right? I think when I'm creating shadow from the hat on this thing's neck, I'll probably see how much of that I can do with just color. Like I might paint in like a darker color here than on other parts like his hands and stuff. For now, I think I want to just get like the occlusion shadows and the outlines. All right, let's see if I can get the base of this hat in just a couple of strokes here. Just for line quality. Going digital has kind of spoiled me. I sort of tend to, I mean, ideally you should be able to just put lines where your brain wants them to go. And I'm still working on that. I love the undo feature. At this point, I'm kind of just milking it. Like I probably could have used a few of those already. All right, so that's in there. Just breaking up the line a little bit. Cool. I don't think I'll detail the whole thing right now. I don't want this video to be too stinking long, but okay, so now to conform with that last minute decision I made to kind of break this hat apart a little bit and show some of the detail up here. Do that. I actually don't know if I like it that far apart. Maybe we'll leave some of that there. Do that instead. And I said I was going to use color later to kind of darken in the hat shadows, but I think right there's going to be an extra dark occlusion shadow. Do you guys know what occlusion shadows are? Have we talked about those? Occlusion shadows are, there's a way better definition than this, but when you look at something, even if it's kind of well lit, there's portions of that thing or person or whatever that you're looking at where maybe it's like the space in between a upper arm and a forearm when you're bending your arm like this. There's dark spots that the light just can't get to as much. Wrinkles in skin, folds in clothing, things like that. And I think that's a pretty close definition to what occlusion shadows are. I'm often wrong about things. It's probably worth checking me on the internet to see if there's a better explanation than that. But yeah, when you look at something, even if it's got a light source on it that's pretty strong, it's going to have some areas. That's why it looks 3D. Like, the reason it doesn't look flat. Occlusion shadows. Just throwing a little bit of texture on the hat here. I might change it later depending on, I don't know, maybe it's like a fancy hat. Maybe it's got some kind of like stylized metal dragon thing rimming it or something. I played a lot of Mortal Kombat when I was a kid. It's got a big saw blade going around it. Copyright. Okay. There we go. So I'm eventually just going to do the whole thing like this. But you can see, here's the grouped versions. Let's hide the reference real quick. So here's the original drawing, right? The original rough sketch. And I've now gone in and thrown in something a lot more detailed without too much time, using the same process of looking at reference and kind of just methodically picking and choosing where to put my lines. It's just more controlled and deliberate than it was early on. But I'm still using the stuff that we laid down early on. Like this new head pretty much conforms to the old head. It's got additional information, but I'm still following the groundwork and the rules that I set out last time when we did this. It's kind of like building a house. Like we framed the house before, and now I'm just putting on the sheetrock and the brick and stuff like that. There you go. I'm going to post this on Canvas a little later if you want to rewatch it. And good luck. I'll be around to see what you guys are working on.